Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with some exciting news regarding the Magic the Gathering market. We have Kamigawa set boosters becoming the first set booster to hit the $150 milestone. Now, there are some set boosters that weren't standard sets that started higher than $150, like Commander Masters or Lord of the Rings, but this is the first standard set to hit that $150 milestone. So it's exciting times because set boosters were introduced with Zendikar Rising, and since then we have gone through a lot of overprinting when they created both draft and set and printed both of them probably as much as they were printing regular draft boosters from sets beforehand. And Wizards of the Coast had this policy that they were just going to push the envelope. They were going to just print. It's exciting that Kamigawa has now reached the 150, and it's not that old of a set, to be honest, and this is a very good sign for the Magic the Gathering market. If you actually check some of the other set boosters, they are not lagging too far behind. We have Phyrexian Oblique 1 at around the 130, and Lost Cards of Ixalan, and mind you, those are still in standard. And we have Kaldheim and even things like Adventures of Forgotten Realms that have started to go up in the last few months. So I think we've turned a page with Magic the Gathering. It's crazy how much the market can grow with all these other products when a summer set like Lord of the Rings isn't literally gobbling up all of the money. The problem with like Lord of the Rings is they're also releasing so many other sets at that time period. So it's nice that Wizards of the Coast is given a bit of breathing room. And I know that sounds kind of awkward when we just had Bloomburrow and then we had Dustmorn that was released right after it. But now we're actually going to see some breathing room with Foundations, and then there will be some other sets that are released, but still in the scope of things, this is a lot less than what was being released at this time last year. And I'm also thinking the print runs are a lot lower. Things like bundles, pre-release kits, all those matter when those aren't oversaturating the market too and competing with products that are currently on the market. It is given some breathing room, and now Kamigawa is the first one to kind of show what that does. So let's talk about Kamigawa here, and then I'm going to give you some of my thoughts regarding the set long term, where I think it will go. I think it's going to stay around this period for quite some time. So right now you can see that Kamigawa boosters have gone up in the last 6 months from 124 in April all the way up to 148, and you can see that actually like the lowest one you can get right now is around that 148, but then it jumps right up to above 150 with the next seller. Now the inventory on TCG Player is still pretty decent at 175, is a little lower than other sets around this time period. And the Kamigawa set booster 2, what's really cool about this one is this is probably the one that had the most reprints. This was a set that was just had some phenomenal reception. It sold out when it was in standard. They had to do some emergency reprints for it. Both the draft boosters and the set boosters had multiple waves, but I can confirm that Wizards of the Coast has now given their last call, meaning they are out. So distributors cannot order any more Kamigawa boosters from Wizards of the Coast to refill their own inventory. As a result, a couple of the distributors have already increased their price. I can still get these for around 127, I think is the lowest I can get it from the main distributor, and there are a few other distributors I can get it for slightly cheaper. So I'll talk about this at the very end. If you are a patron, I will go over pricing for patrons and give you some more thoughts on a post on Patreon of what I think about this long term. For all you, the rest of you though, let's just kind of go over what Kamigawa has to offer and why I think set boosters have been going up in the past few months. First of all, the list is actually really good for Kamigawa. So this is one of the better lists. Now, New Capenna had a really good list of cards because they didn't really get rid of much from Kamigawa, and I think they added a few other high-end cards. So you could still get things like Vampiric Tutor, if I remember correctly, from New Capenna. And so the list, when people have now done the math on set boosters, the list actually does add quite a bit of expected value to set boosters. So if you look at the list from Kamigawa, you have some heavy hitters like Vampiric Tutor at $40. You have Demonic Tutor at $30, $36, $37. Now, mind you, both of these are very suspect right now with the commander changes because I think they're going to both be in the top tier. So they're going to be only restricted to top tier decks with both Demonic and Vampiric. As I think they're going to have very similar restricted lists of things that are like legacy playable or things that are banned in legacy. So again, I'll have to show you, I've done some videos, I believe on this channel as well as the Rogue Deck Builder channel of the changes with Commander and where I think they're going to go with them. How they'll affect pricing, I'm not too sure with these new tier systems that they're going to go with Commander. But as of now, there are some heavy hitters in the Kamigawa list. If you actually go down even further, things like Top, Senseless Divining Top. I mean, these are Commander staples: Anointed Procession, Exquisite Blood, Ancient Tomb, Gemstone Caverns. A lot of good stuff in this list from Kamigawa. But the thing that really, really makes Kamigawa such a good set is all the value is in rares. When you can actually have rares be the things that are carrying all the bags here or carrying the water, I guess is the better expression, for a set when it's not like a chase mythic. So like something like Domineer, that shoulder that's is very expensive. Like his shoulder is actually going to add less EV to a set at $100 than this Boseiju will at $33. And this is going to continue to be a very sought after card. It's going to be hard to reprint because of this channel mechanic. They probably will put it in master sets or in upcoming commander decks. I could see it being put in, but it's not a very good intro type product when they are looking at commander decks or other supplemental products to throw in. Typically, these type of cards are harder just to include in there just for complexity's sake. You don't want to have a lot of keywords. They've talked about this before. And now with the list actually being gone, these are harder to get reprinted. So I'm actually very, very happy the list is gone. So they're just doing the special kind of cards that kind of work thematic with different sets. We saw with Outlaws of Thunder Junction and the Enchanted Tales, of course, from Wildsville Drain, which is another set that I definitely need to talk about. They've given I don't think they've given a last call on Wildsville Drain yet, but they have given last calls on Dominaria, New Phyrexia, and Brothers War. So those are also going low supply at Wizards of the Coast, and they do not have any plans of reprinting them. But you can see the rares in this is things like Boseiju and Adawara. These are very, very highly sought after. I mean, all of these just go in every commander deck. So if you're playing blue or green, it's going in. And I could say the same thing for the red, the black one. They are just very, very good auto-include cards that you're just going to chuck in every commander deck. And so there will always be a lot of demand. There is Fable the Mirror Breaker that continues to be flirted with about being banned in Pioneer, but it still does see occasional play in other formats like Legacy and even in Modern. And then we have some cards that I think will be good long term. Things like the Wandering Emperor. I'm going to be doing a video about the Wandering Emperor for my Daily Delve series that I want to bring back because I think this is one of the best cards right now just because of how well it's performing right now in the most recent meta for Pioneer, as it's just a clutch card for that format. And there's been some recent cards that have gone up quite a bit because of commander decks. So the Atsushi has gone up because of the Jolly Balloon Man. This has gone up from a couple bucks now to $5. I mean, not significant, but it's still significant enough to add some really good EV to the set boosters. And this is exactly what happens is once a set booster or any product, sealed product, goes above the expected value where people can actually crack them and make a profit, then it leads to a shorter supply. And I think this is what people have mainly done with Kamigawa. Between the list and between the cards that are contained in this, and there's one other very, very key component that I'll show you in a second. This does have positive EV at that original 105, I believe is what it costs most stores at distribution level for a set booster box. So when the market did dip around that 105 to 115, I think these were just being cracked for singles because they were profitable at that point. And as you can see here, with things like Tamuo's Safekeeping at $3 for a common, it adds a lot of expected value when you can rely on, I think these had a 55% chance of having a land, and the foil lands were also very common, I believe, in these set boosters. You get like 2 or 3 per box, and right there it does add a bit of expected value to the booster box. So you can see over here they had their breakdowns when they talked about this set booster. You could get some commander cards. You could also get some other specialty treatments in set boosters, but it did have, I believe, a 55% chance of containing a land, because you could get the 33% chance of getting a land in the land slot for the Ikkyo land, and then it had like a 15% chance in the foil. I don't know where it came up with this, but I believe it did say you have a 55% chance of getting one of the lands in the set boosters. So they're very, very common to get the so yeah, 7% of packs have a foil one. So in that particular slot, and you can see you can get one in this double one here, and I believe you can get one in another place here. So anyway, that is set boosters. And if you actually go over to the lands, that's where the money really has started to, or the values started to roll in. You can see the swamp is going for 331, and there's two different versions of them. And then I believe the island was going for pretty good too. Yeah, 230 the mountains were. And the foil versions of these, I believe, are going for pretty decent too. If we go over to the main set foils, it is going to give us another picture of, look at the spread though between Bejeju. There's like no spread between regulars and foils. Oh boy, the collector era that we're in. If we go over, yeah, swamps, they're about $5. So you have a good chance of getting, you know, a couple of these foil lands that do add like $3-4, and these sell too. That's what I was so surprised is on TC Player. These are one of the full arts that are highly sought after, like the Theros. And again, when you can basically rely on every other pack having one of these in there, then it's really going to be a set that does yield that value, and then will lead to people opening packs. Now, beyond that, the draft boosters too are one of the products that are very, very popular just due to drafting. Kamigawa is considered one of the greatest draft environments of all time. And again, this isn't talking about draft, this is talking about set. But if draft booster boxes start to go up in value just because of the popularity, the utility of drafting, it will push set boosters up too, just as a byproduct of that. It doesn't work the opposite way. You can see New Capenna. New Capenna set boosters are doing quite well. Draft boosters are still going for absolutely, you know, garbage. And that's again because it's easier, I believe, to get the lands out of set boosters. Someone ran the numbers on those two, and for whatever reason they're contained more in the set boosters. And then also the list slot for New Capenna was so good, and of course you can't get list cards in draft boosters. So anyway, this is a like I said, a new milestone, a new era for Magic the Gathering. Since sets had been released, there hasn't been one that has gone up. I believe that Kaldheim flirted with the 150. Let's go ahead and check and see with Kaldheim if it ever did get up to 150, because Kaldheim did exist in the when Magic was spiking. So during the COVID era of everything was liquid gold, like you know, everything was gold bars during that time. It didn't matter what it was, people were buying it. But I don't know if the data goes back quite that far. No, it only goes back a year for Kaldheim. But I do remember, I think that they did flirt with that around 150 and then came right back down. And so, but they are doing pretty good too. This one is at 121, but this is just the overall feel of the Magic market right now is sales are good on basically everything. And it's a twofold thing. I actually don't think that, yeah, well, actually I do. I think that Magic the Gathering has had a lot of growth in the 1-versus-1 sector, and I don't think Commander has gone anywhere. So Commander has maintained its height, so it's definitely plateaued, but you got to think during the Lord of the Rings and the couple of years before, Commander exploded in popularity and added so many people to the Magic the Gathering ecosystem, and 1-versus-1 was absolutely struggling. So any of the Legacy, Modern, Pioneer standards, they were very, very rough, and now we've seen a rebound in that market. And so when you add that together, I believe we are at a more healthy market than we were like a year or 2 years ago. Now, again, I will disagree a lot with some of these other finance people here on YouTube. I think the main problem, Magic the Gathering has remained hot. It has been a very, very, very strong game for the past 5 years. I think the main problem with 2020 and beyond was Wizards of the Coast really pushed that envelope of just printing and printing and printing and printing and printing. And they just, you know, threw all caution to the wind. And it's amazing how they have just stepped back a little bit. Like, they are still printing a ton, but they have limited. They've showed some caution with as I mentioned earlier in this video, things like pre-release kits and bundles haven't been printed to the quantities that they once were. And then even things like Commander decks too, those have been limited at their releases, and collectors have been limited compared to the amount that were originally printed. And so just that slight slight breathing room of not releasing a massive IP like Lord of the Rings in the summer where everyone's chasing the One Ring. Just think of the tens of millions of dollars that went into chasing Lord of the Rings and gobbled up all of the money in that time period. That's why a lot of things had a massive crash like Baldur's Gate or March of Machines or New Capenn. Even that area is like all roads led to people purchasing, like all the money went into Lord of the Rings, which is another video I need to talk about because that is getting another reprint. Set boosters were, I think I did talk about that in my last video actually. So anyway, this is very interesting with Kamigawa. I thought I'd share with everyone my thoughts on it. Again, if you are interested, I highly suggest that you come and check out the Patreon, patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder. We have tiers that can fit everyone's needs for ordering products. How it basically works is you sign up for one of these tiers, and then you can get a set amount of products per month based upon what tier. So it scales, so the higher tier, the more products you can get per month. And just by buying a few of these boxes, you make up your money. So right now there's a special with Kamigawa. I can get them for like $120 right now. And so right there saves you $30 from going over on TCG Player and getting these set boosters. So it's kind of a you scratch my back, I scratch your back operation. We'd love to have you. The more people we have, the better purchasing power we have, the better chance we have of getting special stuff from distributors. So if it is a good fit for you, I highly suggest you come over and check out patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder. It does support this channel, helps me keep motivated to make more videos. And yeah, this is an exciting time. Like you can tell that I haven't really been active on my channels. It's because it was very, very rough few years with Magic the Gathering, but it feels like Magic is good again. I think that consumers are happy, stores can actually make money, distributors aren't just bleeding, and Wizards of the Coast is showing like the right amount of caution. I think they're making changes that they're overall good. I love the play booster change. I love the getting rid of the list change. I do love the more cautionary approach they have with print runs. And all in all, I think it's just led to that perfect ecosystem. Usually I'm a negative Nancy on this channel, but I mean, the data is right in front of us. I think this is a pretty decent market. And actually, this typically is a time period that is slow between the end of summer and kind of ramping up. You start picking up around this time period, but usually like standard because there's a fresh new standard. But as far as the rest of the formats, this is typically a low, and then you do get the Christmas where it ends up being a hot rush in like sealed product, but singles products start to lag behind. And then the real hot market is usually tax return season. That's when we see the movement in Magic the Gathering. So seeing a very substantial movement right now is just a breath of fresh air. So yeah, I think it's a great time to be looking at some of these older products, seeing if you can get it on deals. There will be some stragglers on places like the Amazons and the eBays and stores. You can find some places that still might have these priced lower. Of course, if you can get it on that, that's always good. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll try to do these daily. I'll try to pick like a product. I think we're going to call this the deep dive. So I'm going to deep dive into some products and see if they're worthwhile. So that's kind of my overall feel about Kamigawa. Like, I wouldn't pay $150 for them. I think $120 though is very reasonable, which is again another plug for the Patreon. So I think if you get in at $120, I mean, right there just pays for your Patreon fee, the difference between the two. And I think this is a very good long-term product with how beloved Kamigawa was, with the addition of the EV you get from the list and the addition you get from just those lands and all the rares that are quite valuable. Hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with the Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.